What's up, y'all? So I'm definitely gonna keep this recording around for people to watch, stuff like that. Let's kick things off. Lighten up. Uh, Cuban farm roll here. Kick things off. Oh man, that's a good cigar. So this is set to mimic kind of like a Trinidad Vigia, which if you haven't had it is amazing. Arguably my favorite cigar in the world is the Trinidad Vigia by a long shot. Hey, what's up, Joe? How's it going? So yeah, shooting galleries here. So good cigar to kick things off. I think. Let's see. We could start with the suppressor thing. So I want to say it was like last night I watched it, or maybe it was earlier today. But Juicy Media, if you haven't seen, is Tyler, or he used to be called that, but it's Juicy Media now. He does a lot of suppressor testing, and it's pretty good stuff. Um, and he kind of confirmed something for me today. So last year, I want to say it was April, but PSA had the gathering, and I got there pretty early so that I wouldn't have to wait in line for everything. And the Dead Air booth, they had the Lazarus there, and I posted a short of me shooting. I think it was like a Noveski with a Lazarus on it, and it was very pleasant to shoot. Like typically, you hear about Noveskis being overgassed. The Lazarus is very low back pressure. It's made for like that 6 mm arc, I think, or whatever it is, or 6.5 arc. I don't even know right now what that is. I'm not that far into shooting, especially long range, to care about it. But the Dead Air Lazarus, people commented on the short like, "Hey, like what can is that? That sounds good." And I had a feeling that they really pulled it out with that can, and switching to kind of the 3D printing process, things like that, and that Juicy Media video. What's up, John? Uh, just uh, just confirmed that the Dead Air Lazarus is a really really good can. Like it's better than a lot of people get, and I think it hasn't taken off because of the Dead Air Sierra 5 stuff. I don't like India. I'll never go there. I like some of your food, but that's about it. Oh man, I've been talking too much and went out. All right, so Dead Air Lazarus, very good. I might pick one up myself too. I was looking at a cat, but Juicy Media had a point. It's like a $500 difference, $400 difference between the cans. So, Dead Air Lazarus wins that. Let's talk about the gundies for a bit now, too. If you don't know what the gundies are, it's kind of like the Academy Awards for gun tubers. They created it. Nah, I can't play no songs, man. I'm just on my phone. So, the gundies are like the Academy Awards for gun tubers. And each year it seems like they stray further and further from the light. Like, the collector is nominated for, like, most influential male of the year or something like that. And it's awful. Like, his content's awful. There's one shot TV, I think, civilian tactical. Hey, what's up, Poland? I'm looking to buy a Polish AK down the road, so yeah. And my family's very Polish, but we're in America. But yeah, civilian tacticals on there, first shot tactical. what is it, Johnny Q or whatever his name is, that creates trash content too. Uh, like there's some really really bad creators on the list, and then like a lot of people I've never heard of. Like there's it seems like there's a lot less heavy hitters, and that they've moved the heavy hitters all into one category because they didn't want them like to be shoo-ins. But I didn't know that you actually have to pay for like your gundies tickets, even if you get like nominated and you're there and all that stuff. So that sounds like an absolute trash heap. I didn't plan on going to SHOT Show anyways. I'm fat. Walking sucks. That much. So I wasn't going to SHOT Show anyhow. I don't know what my family city is actually. My grandpa was Ukrainian. My grandma was Polish. But like SHOT Show, I don't think there's anything coming out that I'm really all that interested in either. Like Holosun's gonna release, the stuff that they've showed, but it's gonna be in like the production versions now. So that's good because I'm looking to buy that light, the Raid, and eventually when I get into night vision, their IR device looks really really cool. They're teasing some new scope, so that might be interesting. But from a gun standpoint, there isn't much out there. Like Wilson Combat has that long ported gun. Uh, there's just like the Ruger Glock knockoff. Um, yeah, there's not much. Like I'm not really that excited for SHOT Show in general, let alone the gundies. So yeah, the gundies. I feel like they're losing touch with things. Same with some of the gun tube industry in general. So, talk about cigars. This is a great cigar. Again, this is a Cuban farm roll that's supposed to mimic a Trinidad Vigia. It does an all right job of that. The actual Trinidad is definitely better. So, yeah. Let's talk about handgun stuff for a bit. So I made a video recently comparing the different LTT stuff. And I picked the 92 as the winner. And I'm second guessing myself on that a little bit. Because I think I could live without having a Beretta 92. But I don't think I could live without having the LTT PX4 GSD. That gun is just, there's something about it. It's wild. So I'm taking the next step with my PX4 relationship. I'm getting the awful tape off there. I ordered some handle it grips to make it, tactile and all that stuff. You don't think I'll live long without cardio? Okay. Like my entire family's fat, and like my grandparents lived to like 90 something. One of my grandmas just died, and I think she was 101 or 100. I don't even remember. She was up there. So good luck with that. You probably got poor genetics. But I can't say enough good things about the PX4. The PX4, the Carry Compact is on my list for this next year for sure. That's a gun that I definitely have to get. What's up, Brandon? So, PX4 Carry Compact is on my list. The 92 Compact isn't on my list. And so, like, part of me says I think maybe the PX4 is a better route. One, it's definitely cheaper. And two, it's just more fun to shoot for me. So, PX4 is where it's at. Next, let's talk red dots. I'm going to top this off a little bit. So, I'm getting on record right now that I think Trijicon is on notice as far as red dots. I have an SRO on my Beretta 92, But the Vortex comp dot that I put on the SIG 226 Legion is exponentially better, I think. The window's great. The dot looks clear. The glass looks clear. It's definitely more durable. It's cheaper. Um, the Delta Point Pro footprint, I wish they kind of would have made it an RMR. That's the only thing the SRO has going for it. And then this week I saw that Siley put out, I think it's called the Chameleon, where it has a red dot that's 8 MOA and specifically designed for people with astigmatism. And it's coming in at $199. I'm probably going to pick one up to try. And if that thing's good, I'm going to get rid of my SRO. I think the Trigicon RMR HD has been a letdown from everyone I've talked to that's owned one. They're kind of moving on. The RCR has a ton of issues with compatibility. It's like, hey, you can use it on these guns, but not these guns because of the way those little screws are underneath of it. So I think Trigicon needs to do something or they're going to end up out of the market because the only thing left is the ACOG. Red dots. I don't know if you know what that is. Holosun, I like my EPSs that are and the EPS carry that are 6 MOA. I don't like the 2 MOA stuff. But yeah, the Siley stuff is ridiculously good for the price. And I think like decent in general. Like I still have my a Siley Cobra X on my XR920. I have a Siley Wolf Pro on my PX9, the Gen 3, which is a wild gun for how cheap it is. And yeah, like they work. They look good. I enjoy them. I got a Bull Pro that I'm mounting as like a offset on an AR-15 because it's a giant dot, or I mean a giant window and like a 1 MOA. Oof, that's rough with a Holosun. Yo, 2A in LA, what's up, man? I'm jealous all these 2011s you're sporting every week. The Vortex Defender XL is absolutely amazing. If it was in an RMR footprint, I would probably switch all my red dots right now. The only reason it's on the SIG is because that was already Delta Point Pro. So like I was looking to see if I could get it mounted on all my Langdon stuff. They're not that awesome with Delta Point Pro footprints, but you know, it is what it is. The Vortex Defender series is wildly good. Like especially the bigger dots. Like they look great. Glass is good. I can't say enough good things about it. So I'm glad that Vortex is coming back and hitting back where Trigicon is failing miserably. Although, after using an LPVO for a bit this year, I'm looking into replacing it with an ACOG where I used to have ACOGs before. But LPVOs are just not my jam. So yeah, the Siley stuff is really good. I did love my buddy Jake over at TN Tactical. I don't know if you guys saw that, but his Olight O sight got like wrecked. Just from shooting it. And then they sent him 2 more, and I think like they lasted a little bit, but like he drop tested them and they didn't last that long, or one of them didn't. So I don't know. Avoid the Olight stuff. As far as red dots, some of their flashlights are decent, but like, I mean, Surefire's still out there, Streamlight's still out there. I had one of those Odin rifle lights back in the day, and it was leaning against a wall and the mount broke. Like, it was it wasn't like I was beating it up. It broke in like a week too. So, I don't know. Most of the stuff has been junk as far as like weapon mounted stuff that I've tried from them. But I think they have that one light that's all right. Yeah, Phoenix lights are all right. I just wish that they fit holsters better. Like the one Phoenix I have, like won't fit anything and it's supposed to. Um, but yeah, Phoenix lights are like I looked into Phoenix lights because they were being used on like those people that do like cave diving and stuff like that. And if there's anyone that needs to trust a light, it's those people. I'm curious if you guys have opinions on. I got a Streamlight HLX or like ProTac or something the other day, and it seems like it's brighter than my Cloud Defensive light. Um, and I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I think the Cloud should have been brighter, but in my testing, it seems like the Streamlight one is better. And I mean, it comes with a better switch, and it comes with like I don't know. It's weird to me that I bought a Streamlight for like $150 and it outperforms, a $300 Cloud Defensive. Like it's wild to me. Go back. So it Cloud Defensive finally is putting out their EPL or whatever their pistol light, which they botched it. It doesn't have like the same form factor as any of the other handgun lights. So you're going to have to find holster support. And if you don't shoot a Glock, you're probably going to be waiting on that holster support for a while. So, good job, Cloud Defensive. Another one. My go-to carry gun, PX4 GSD, the LTT one. That's my jam. I'm buying the compact one this year as like a smaller. I'm also looking at a CR920 XP. Shot one of those at Goals. They're pretty slim, pretty nice. I'm not a huge fan of comps, but it does make a big difference on that. Good to know, 2A. Yeah, it's just the Streamlight one seemed to the ProTac seemed a little bulky or whatever it was, but it seems like it performs better. And I'm trying to remember if it's dual fuel or not. But like that's I don't see a reason to buy Cloud Defensive anymore. Arasaka allows you to put things together. Valhalla Tactical does the same thing, allows you to kind of build your own light. And then these Streamlights are coming in very reasonably priced. I think I saw something too with like a Surefire deal last week where they were definitely on sale. That little like Scout one that you can wiggle around or something like that. Mr. Guns and Gear has crazy deals that come out every day, and that's usually what I check. What else? I bought some Magpul bad levers. They're on the way. So, I watched a Joel Park video, and I've heard a few other people preaching up the Magpul bad lever, and I thought, why not give it a try on some of my lowers that aren't ambi? Because I have the Griffin Armament lower. I have Blackout Defense, which is an ambi lower, and a Type A one. No, that one's not ambi, I don't believe. That one that I got. But throwing a Magpul bad lever on some of my kind of standard AR-15s as well as like Annex Defense. I'm going to try out like a Magwell, like one of those plastic 3D printed Magwells that allow you to funnel it into your gun, and maybe see how that works. But looking forward to like finishing off some builds. Yeah, huge fan right now of my 12.5 mid gas, which is an HM monoblock barrel from Lead and Steel. And the build that I did with that, with the Huxworks suppressor that I basically fixed myself. Um, it's really soft shooting, and it sounds decent. Oh, so yeah, 365X macro is decent. What is it? The Springfield Hellcat is a pretty solid carry gun too. I just don't like when companies sell you one gun and then a year later release a comped version that is just them taking a Dremel to the tip of the slide and not tuning anything else. Like, I don't know. I think that's kind of a joke to me. Like, yeah, the Sig stuff, and now Springfield doing the same thing, and Smith and Wesson's doing the same thing, and it's all just ridiculous to me. I shot those Smith and Wesson carry comps, and it was kind of BS. Like, they didn't change it that much. It's a lot louder. Your gun's gonna get dirtier. It's not ideal. Part of the reason why I like the PX4 so much is it's gonna shoot ridiculously soft, and you're like, even without that vantage point comp. I don't have a comp on my PX4. I'm not interested in it. It shoots plenty soft right now, and it's gonna keep running. Yeah, the Springfield does a good job with their sights. Springfield and Shadow Systems both come with really, really good sights out of the box, where it's good enough that you're like, if you don't put a red dot on it, you won't regret it. Like other guns like Glocks and some of the other ones, Smith & Wessons, even Berettas. The Beretta sights that are stock usually are pretty trash. So Springfield does do a really good job with those. Yeah, this is the hat named after me at TriStar Trading, which is my friend Johnny B's kind of company. And I think they're getting back this week or today. They've been over at CMMG testing out some of that ranch rifle type stuff, I'm sure, because CMMG doesn't go to SHOT Shows, so they're probably filming a bunch of content for that. Yeah, SIG. I mean, the P226 Legion that I recently picked up in like a trade has been awesome. Like, it's got the short reset. I think the lighter spring in it. It's got the fat strut or anything like that. I don't think I'd ever take a 380 over 9mm. I've been tempted. Like, what is it? That Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is pretty cool gun. The Beretta, what is it? Cheetah? That's a pretty interesting gun. I'm in East Tennessee. Yeah, SR556 was like the good AR that Ruger made for a bit. I had an SR762, and it was like a piston, and it was actually really, really good. I wish I would have kept it. But the SR556, I remember like they had the takedown one too that was really good. And those guns are good. I wish Ruger would make that, or again, instead of like trying to be this cheap budget option that they're not going to do well in because it's oversaturated. You know, it's like I did a tier list recently, and some people are like, oh, you know, why didn't you pick this? Why didn't you pick this? Because the market's like saturated. And there's, you know, like I think it was like almost an hour long video already. And it's just going to get longer. But in that, anything under $2,000 is like neck and neck in its respective groups. So the $1,000 to $2,000 range is neck and neck on a lot of stuff. The below 1,000, there's a lot of good guns there. IWI Zion, they have a 12.5 mid gas that's, I think, under 1,000, which is wild. Like, that's the gun. If you said, hey, if you could pick up any AR under 1,000, that would be the one I'd get. Because I always plan on suppressing my guns. But, you know, the IWI Zions are amazing. The Anderson Frontlines are good. The PSA Sabres are pretty decent. I'm trying to think of what else is under that 1,000. Oh, Munitions Works has that Joe carbine. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff down there. Colt Cobra or SIG H11. I don't know what a SIG H11 is. Never heard of that. Delton? I had a friend that got one. I'm sure they're fun to like putz around with, but if I'm ever in the apocalypse and get stuck with a Delton, I would have regretted some life choices. I keep hearing about Andro Corp too. People were asking about them. I know Radicals are decent too. Johnny B did like a test with a Radical. I think I forgot how many thousand rounds, but the thing ran. Yeah, Radical does better, I think, than a lot of people think. So, yeah, they're a decent brand. Potato guns. I had an uncle that built like a semi-auto potato gun. It had like a ring that would go around that would feed potatoes in. It was wild. And it used like a gas grill igniter, and like you put the whole tube of hairspray in the back. It was wild. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stagnant stuff in the gun industry right now. Like I think accessories are going to be it, especially with like everyone being able to just 3D print new grips and stuff. I ordered some stuff from Emissary Development this week. I'm going to try out one of their like, God, was it an accelerator? I think it's called, and then their AR grip. But yeah, Rossi 3030. Okay, is that like a lever action, like old school deer style? So I could see, like, I haven't gotten really into it, but like the 4570 lever action is kind of appealing to me. Yeah. At Goals, I shot the 8.6 blackout. What is it like? Uh, the fix, the Q fix, in 8.6 blackout with just like an EOTech or some red dot on there, and that thing was awesome. Like I just pulled up and hit the steel, and it was like boom, and like all that's all you heard. Like it's wild. Um, yeah, shouldering a So there is differences being a fat guy and shouldering a gun. So one, the length of pull in my arm, you don't really measure your arm. You measure from like the front of your fat chest to the gun. So it's like my length of pull is actually a lot shorter, despite being, like 6 feet tall or whatever it is. My length of pull is a lot shorter just because of all the chest flesh I got here. And then just like the shouldering stuff too, like, I don't know, like mine's not as flat, obviously. So, shouldering guns is a little different. You have to, like, I don't know. It's like how far out you would normally set up grips. Mine, you set a little further back with things. 338 Lapua is a big round. I can't think of a reason that I'd get one, but maybe if you're out west, like, yeah, like to reiterate, Billy Bomb, I think set your guns up for what fits you. Like I know, like Slade and what is it, Velox Training Group, Joel Park, these guys all have pretty good starting points, but you want to make sure that like what's more comfortable for you, what makes you faster and more accurate, do that. Like, if there's a reason to do that. And make sure you're actually measuring that it is making you faster and you are more accurate with things. Like, do some drills or something and then, like, test the differences between things. Because there's, like, certain grips that just the way my wrist, like, it'll make a big difference if I have, like, the shorter angle. Like, if I use an A2 grip, that's miserable for me. I don't like using those. But I think this next year we're going to see the suppressor market really take off with how short these wait times are, as well as I feel like a lot of people got the suppressors out of their system, and maybe it's getting a little stagnant, so they're going to introduce a lot of new products. I know, what is it? The Cat 2025 lineup is going to be pretty wild from what that Juicy Media dude said. So, yeah. Um, I think suppressors are going to be big this next year. Hopefully, we get Hearing Protection Act. We can stop having to pay $200 tax stamps for things. Uh, I think the shorter guns are going to get more love as well. Um, I'd like to see more companies focus on suppressed uppers as well. Like Psionics is doing a really good job of that, where you can get suppressor dedicated, or you can get extremely reduced gas, that sort of thing. So I think the more companies do that, the better. I hope that with the new presidential thing that this Russian stuff gets sorted out soon enough. Oh yeah, I got a GP5 and I have it is it on an 11.5 now? No, it's on a 12.5. It's on my 12.5 Type A with an adjustable gas. But yeah, the GP5 is pretty legit. But if the Russian sanctions can lessen and we can get cheaper ammo back in as well as AKs and stuff like that, that's going to be a very cool thing to hit the market, because as much as I enjoy like shooting ARs, and they're definitely more practical. Like if you were going to put me in like an end of the world scenario, as much as I love AKs, I'm going to pick an AR-15 right now. But AKs are, to me, more fun to shoot, and they're just, I don't know, they're what do the kids say? It's a vibe, you know? So, yeah. Yeah, SKSs too. Those are hunting in Wisconsin for deer hunting. I used to see SKSs everywhere. And now everyone's rocking like 270s and 6.5 Creedmoors, stuff like that. Because the 7.62 by 39 ammo is just wild. Price wise, ooh. I don't know any Russian or Cyrillic or whatever it's called, Dan. Sorry. Or if that's Polish, what is it? My my great grandfather's name was Wazel. So which is like Vasil in Polish. Um, this is a Cuban farm roll that's supposed to mimic a Trinidad Vigia. Griffin M4 series, the gate lock. I haven't messed with any of the gate lock, but if it's made by Griffin, I would stand behind it. Griffin is like really, really good. Their stuff's wild. That lower, I think, is probably the best on the market. Their guns are gassed very, very well. It's accurate. They do what they need to. Their suppressors are like rugged built. Granted, you don't like, even the EcoFlow still has a lot of back pressure to it. So if you're looking for a ultra low back pressure can, don't look at Griffin. As of right now, I don't know if they're going to change things up or what. I was asking them if they're going to do some 3D printed stuff, but yeah, that gate lock stuff with the A2 is pretty cool. I hear good things about it. It's like if you have all those A2s or BCM A2s on your guns already, like, why switch? Just throw on the gate lock. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about cigars. I like smoking cigars. I smoke a lot of cigars. Right now, I think if you're thinking of trying a cigar, or if you smoke on the regular, the Plasencia Family Reserve, or Family Reserva, Familia Reserva, whatever it is. Maybe it's got like a Spanish. Those are amazing. That's probably my favorite domestic cigar right now. And they're very reasonably priced. Honey flavored cigars. Oh, I don't like flavored cigars usually. There's like that Macanudo one that's like hot chocolate or espresso or something like that. That one's all right. But flavored cigars, I tried some other Drew Estate one that they revealed recently, and I thought I was gonna get diabetes from the cigar. Like it was just too sweet. I can't do that. So, new video series that I'm gonna be working on. So I had a coworker, like some of them know that I have kind of the YouTube like side hobby because it's not really a profession because you have to make money, I think, to be professional. But my hobby, the YouTube hobby, and they were asking like, how come you don't have any videos for people that aren't already into guns? Like, I need to make videos on what you need to buy for tools, videos on how to pick out your first handgun, how to pick out your first home defense gun, why, what, how to figure out like your setups and things like that. So I'm going to be making a bunch of videos focused on people with almost no experience using firearms, just because I could agree that that's probably an underserviced group right now. You know, especially with oh yeah, I already talked about red dots, man. Uh, Trigicon, I think, is on the way out. The Vortex Defender series is amazing. And Siley's got a new one that's supposed to be for people with astigmatism. That's like SRO shape for like $200. It's pretty wild. So I got to give that a try. But making videos for people who are just getting into guns, I think, is a good way to focus on things. Because, like, if you guys saw the focus trip the other day, like Matt Pranka, who I'm a huge fan of, still am. I don't care. I'm a huge fan. He is definitely like at that level that most people will never take one of his classes, even if he offered them to the public. They're just never going to be at a level where that class is going to be valuable to them potentially because they haven't learned the base skills yet. So I think it opened up a window that like some of these people are focused too much on people that already have a ton of experience, and no one's focusing, or I shouldn't say no one, because there are some people that are focusing, but a lot of people aren't focusing on like the initial stuff as well as why the initial stuff. So knowing the pros and cons of which sight to get, like a red dot versus a prism versus a red dot and a magnifier versus an LPVO versus an ACOG, all that stuff. Like knowing things. And then the other thing, I see people that they buy something where it's dedicated to something that they're never going to use. So for example, I worked with this guy, and his first gun, like long gun, was a Scar 17. And I was blown away. Like, why? You got one of the most, and I think he lives in like an urban environment. So it's like, look, man, like you're not going to be shooting that far if things pop off, because that was part of his reasoning. I think was things popping off. You're not going to be shooting that far. It's going to be heavy. It's going to break some optics probably, depending on what you put on there. Parts availability, all the stuff. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. And I feel like we can't just tell people what to buy, but we have to give them a guide with all the pros and cons so that they can make their own decision effectively. And that's what I'm going to be focusing on. So, like, the other night when Matt was on Focus Trips live, so spoiler alert about a video, when people say just buy a Glock, I think that's terrible advice. I think it should be, you should work your way through priorities on what you get. So the most important thing for a gun is to be reliable. It has to go bang every time I pull the trigger. Like, I have to be able to count on it. Number two, it has to be, like mechanically accurate, things like that. I think number three is where people need to understand is not all guns are made for all people. Like my hands are very different than a lot of other people's. Smith and Wesson M&Ps feel like shit to me. Like they don't have a palm swell, and I need that. And I think it's important not to just go with what someone tells you to get, but go with what feels good in your hand. Yeah, like, and then number four, Ben Johnson. If you follow him, he does a lot of Langdon stuff, so I'm a big fan of his. Plus, he's like built like the Terminator. So yeah, Ben Johnson did like a reel pretty recently where he was talking about like you got to make sure it's a gun that you're excited to shoot to, and that it's fun. Like getting a Glock to me doesn't bring me any joy. It just doesn't. And it's kind of like if you find a way to make things more fun, you're more likely to train and practice with it. So, like if treadmills were the most fun, then we wouldn't have had, like all these different like assault bikes and rowing machines and all this other stuff. Like in order to like for me, for example, one of my favorite like cardio workouts was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the time. And it's because you don't work harder than when you're about to get choked out. And it was fun for me. I liked kind of like fighting and stuff like that. And so it was a fun way to get cardio in. Now, if you ask me to just sit on a treadmill and walk a few miles, I'm going to be miserable. Like the book on tape, maybe, or some of those people, it works for them, but it doesn't work for everybody. So that's why you have all these different machines and exercises and ways to make things fun. And it's the same with guns. Like if a gun you're picking up doesn't make you excited to shoot it at the range, you're not going to shoot it at the range as much as you should. And I think you're not going to dry fire it as much as you should. So it's got to be a gun that you're actually excited to use. So used to knock the CZ hipsters, but man, if that's going to help you practice more, train more, and it fits your hand better than everything else, get a CZ, Like, all this stuff, like, it's find a reliable brand, find something within your price range, find something that fits your hand, and find something that is fun or exciting to you. And that's kind of the guide. Like, just saying buy this brand is dumb. There's a couple brands that I wouldn't recommend. I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy a Taurus. Like, that's a Sky, SCCY. Like, there's brands that you shouldn't be buying, but everything else is on the table. If it excites you and fits your hand, like, why not? Yeah, so, I mean, I didn't know who Focus Trip was until, God, a few months ago. And now I'm kind of a fan of his stuff for the most part. Like, his live streams, I think, are pretty fun. I'm not big into the LPVO stuff, so, like, those videos don't interest me. But the dude shoots a lot, apparently. So, yeah. I think Focus Trip is one that I got into. Definitely, was it like Hunt, Fish, Shoot, I think? I went down a rabbit hole there. And then, anything dealing with Langdon stuff, I'm always interested in as well. Yeah, Hop and Brass Facts are definitely solid dudes in the industry. And they hop on a lot of stuff. There's certain things that take off, like I like Focus. Print, Shoot, Repeat is probably like my favorite like dude there is. I've met him. I've seen him without the mask. We talked. He's awesome. He is probably the coolest like dude. If anyone talked bad about his personality, I would jump on him about that. Like Lucas can eat one for talking about PSR, but PSR is like the man. Like he's very, very chill. He's based, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I met him at like the HK booth at Goals, or not Goals, GunCon. At GunCon, I was at the HK booth, and I turned around and he was like right there, and I was like, oh man. I think Lucas puts out some decent stuff. I think his brother Isaac's more interesting to me at this point. Like watching Lucas run and shoot doesn't appeal to me the same way that Isaac technically analyzing things does. So yeah, I watch a lot of suppressor stuff now. I love watching ballistic videos, like people shooting gel, steel, whatever it might be. Like what is it, Banana Ballistics? I watch some of his stuff. Um, that's pretty good. Tools and Targets. I mean, if you want to go back, like TN Outdoors 9, I think was the big dude. I've heard, yeah. I haven't gotten into Dirty Kid yet. I've seen a lot of people like get into his stuff. Um, and so he's up there, but like there's certain people that I used to like that I've moved away from too. Like I don't watch Brandon Herrera stuff like at all anymore. Like the what is it, the Darwin Award stuff? It's like I see that already on Twitter, like before he posted. Like Guns and Gear and all those other guys post that stuff on Twitter. And then like I don't know, some of his other stuff is just kind of lackluster. It doesn't really appeal to me. Um, so like I used to really watch his stuff. I've moved away. Same thing with Grantham. Despite recent happenings or potential happenings, I just think like that content, like the AN94 was kind of like peak for me of like stuff I was interested in, and then after that it just kind of dropped off. Um, yeah, there's yeah, the politics stuff with Brandon too. It's like I already get a lot of my politics. Like my friend Jared, runs Guns and Gadgets, and I can get politics there. Guns and Gear does a pretty good job with like news and politics and things like that there. And like, I don't want like a 20-minute intro about Sonoran Desert Institute, Raid Shadow Legends, and like six other things before I get into news. Like, usually Guns and Gadgets, it's like one ad, like Lear Capital or CMMG or something like that. But like with Brandon, it seems like it's been so much more ad wise since he's gotten big, which more power to him. I'm glad he's getting cash. Yeah, tac pack, things like that. It's just he doesn't seem as genuine as he used to. Like Brandon was great when he was like, I remember I watched one of his first videos like right when it came out about polishing rails in an AK to make it smoother and that sort of thing, like the old days when he just like cared about making AKs and making good AKs, and that's what he was going to try to do. That Brandon interested in. Brandon that's like, hey, he's kind of turned into like a Eastern European demo ranch type thing, where it's like, hey, I do things like demo ranch, but with a little more camera flare, and yeah, the Cybertruck vid, and the AK-50 intro was absolutely legendary. The Deadpool reference was great. I'll give him credit on that. Like he's dropping some money in some of the production stuff. Some of it's good. But like I used to watch Kentucky Ballistics a lot. That's kind of fallen off for me. I'm just not really interested in, like what a 950 JDJ or JDJ. M26 Lemon I've heard of. I haven't seen anything. I watched that Trench Grenades guy's stuff the other day. He was on that Focus Trip live stream. His content is pretty cringe to me. Like, it's rough. Like, I can't watch. Trench Grenade is not on my list. I mean, I'm aware of his channel because of things, but I'm not interested in it. And then, like, Civilian Tactical is awful. I like when Vintage Warfare does videos, like, going after gun tubers. I'm not a huge fan of like his live stuff. But as far as like actual videos, like pointing out the BS in the industry, I like that. I know who I'm a huge fan of. Ben Stoger. Ben Stoger is putting out, I think, arguably some of the best content on the internet. gun-wise. Yeah, Tactical Toolbox does some good things. I like his stuff more now, but I would agree. Uh, Ben Stoker. Ben is like the man. Like, he is doing. He is a complete market disruptor. It's like you can't argue with them about. Like if someone's like, "Well, I think this gun shoots better," and Ben doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, do you shoot as good as Ben? Do you shoot as many rounds as Ben? Because the answer is going to be no for both. So it's like you got arguably one of the best shooters out there, and he shoots more often than most people. So it's like it's not like he used to be this thing. It's like no, he's still very very relevant, and he's getting into the stuff and just giving you honest opinions because he's not sponsored. I like the Plasencia Family Reserva. It's a white label. That's probably I think the best cigar you could start with. It's it's only like $9 to $11, which is pretty fair. Cigarillos, I'm not really a fan of. My brother used to smoke like the Cohiba shorts. Those were pretty good. I think Trinidad makes shorts too. But usually the Cuban stuff you don't want to start with because it's got some oomph to it. Ah, what is it, that Jaeger 99 guy? That Asian dude that's really fast? Or is it Pewview? Pewview is pretty good. I'll get his stuff's pretty good. I met that dude. He's an alright dude. Yeah, both them. It's pretty wild too. Laugh and Load. Like that dude is a fat dude, but he can shoot. Like he can shoot pretty wild. So like, any of the people that are like, "Oh, you can't be fat and do this," that dude makes some second guess things. Like he's definitely a shooter. That's for sure. But yeah, oh, the other dude that I think is gonna be big, that ain't bad. Whatever that channel is, that ain't bad. Is wild how good this guy is at like trick shots and just shot. Yeah, like he can shoot wildly, and it's like his content, like with how good of a shot he is on some of this stuff, you have to like listen to it. I wouldn't put too much money in a lighter. So like right here, I have the Zycar. It just kind of sits outside because it's metal, and it can handle a beating. But most of the time, I think I use like what is it? Starts with a V maybe. But just those cheap little Amazon ones, you can buy like three of them for like $20. Or maybe it's a Lotus. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Lotus or Venturi or something with a V like that. Vent something. But it's like they're just clear plastic, butane flame ones. They're like under $10. Those things last. Like everyone at the cigar lounge pretty much uses those. Yeah, I've had a Ronson Jet. I got like a 4-burner one somewhere. But yeah, I got a bunch of lighters out here from like event stuff. But I think spending a ton of money on a lighter is dumb. Spending a decent amount of money on a cutter, on the other hand. So I have a Zycar angled cutter. That's really, really good. I have the Zycar one that's like round and it closes at the same speed. That's really good. They're both kind of pricey. I want to say they're $60 to $85. But the cutters, I mean, it'll last you like years. Like I've never had to sharpen them. I smoke probably 10 cigars a week, maybe more. So it's like they get used. And those are really, really good. So I'm not a huge fan of Zycar lighters necessarily, but their cutters are really, really good. Yeah, I got like a Zycar. Look at this giant son of a gun. So it's a big tabletop 4-burner. And this thing sits out here. and it's all right, but like the button sticks sometimes, and I mean, obviously, you're not gonna take this with you. It's like the size of a Pepsi can, but if you're really like trying to light a big cigar, the four torches make a big difference. I run things around a bit, so it's like even with like a single torch or a double, it's not a big deal to me. But fours are definitely better to light things. Sometimes singles can get annoying. Yeah, I actually did try that. I tried cleaning with alcohol. I think I tried spraying WD 40 in there too, or like brake clean or something like that. But I let it dry before I lit it again, just in case I blew up. I had one Zycar too that actually the flames shot out of the vents on the side, and yeah, some people are big match fanatics. I see the ones that even go into more detail. This is what cracks me up is they'll buy like a $6 cigar, but then they'll use a match to light some cedar to light the cigar. And it's like it ain't gonna make it taste that much better. It's a $6 cigar. Like, if it's a Patron, okay, maybe. If it's like a top notch exclusive, like an Andalusian Bull, which is amazing, one of the best cigars you can get if you can find them. But if you're just lighting a cheap cigar in a fancy way, everyone's gonna make fun of you, and they will. Not to your face, probably though. So yeah, I mean, I don't like soft flames or like Zippos or anything like that to light a cigar. I want like butane or a jet type thing. And then, I mean, matches will work in a pinch, but you got to have a. I think with matches, a better cigar makes a big deal because if matches are harder to get an even light, so if you start off uneven and you don't have a good cigar, it's going to burn really uneven too. You'll get runners and things like that. Yeah, it's like you can taste the Zippo fuel. It's pretty nasty. I've lit one before, like when I was young and dumb, but now I pretty much just use jet lighters. So, we're getting, I think, close to an hour here. I'm going to cut things off in a bit. Overall, let's summarize. Dead Air Lazarus, very, very cool. I'm glad that that thing sounds as good as I thought it sounded. Vortex Defender, very cool. Siley's very good. Making videos for new people. The PX4 is like my favorite handgun. Um, and trying out Magpul bad levers and Magwells and things like that for the AR to finish off my builds. Rocky Sun Grown is good. I don't like. I like Cuban Monte Cristo. I don't like the non-Cuban ones. Ooh, excuse me. So like the Cuban Monte Cristo number 4, amazing cigar. Number 2's even better. The Petite Edmundos are good. The double Edmundos are decent. Oh yeah, I was looking at like the metal ones back in the day, the Stogers and the Beretta ones. I might end up picking one of those up. Silencer Co. I don't know too. What is it? They make the Velos. That's a really good can, isn't it? I think that's a good one. Um. So yeah, the Velos is decent. I didn't like the silver and white Monte Cristos. I don't know, something about them. There's a guy at the lounge that likes them. But oh, what's up, Jake? How's it going, man? But yeah, Monte Cristos. None of the Cuban brands that aren't Cuban really translate well. The only ones that I've had that like blown me away are like the Cohiba Red Dot. What is it? The Wellers that they do are really good, and then the Maduro that they do. That Lazarus from Dead Air. So Juicy Media just did a video, and it's wild. I shot that Dead Air Lazarus last, was it April or June at the PSA gathering, and it sounded really, really good. And it was on a Noveski, which is normally, I think, an overgas gun. So it did really, really well in just my whatever, but I thought maybe it's a fluke, or I don't know that much at the time. Let things settle. People were commenting on my short like, "Hey, what can is that? That sounds pretty good." I was like, "It's a Dead Air Lazarus." And then Juicy Media put out a video where he had the Cat White Bread versus the Dead Air Lazarus, and the Dead Air Lazarus took it. Like, which is wild considering, like, Cat, I think, is top of the food chain right now. Yeah, the number 4 Cubans, I used to be able to get for like $2 a pop, I think, or something cheap. They were really, really good. Like, you could use them as a daily driver. The number 2s used to be like $20, and now they're even wilder. I want to say they're close to like $60 now, if you can get them. But yeah, the Lazarus, if you're looking at a can, Odin Works Baja. I'm trying to remember who Odin Works is. Yeah, you used to be able to get, it was wild back in the day. I want to say it was like 6 or 7 years ago. You used to be able to get number 4s for crazy cheap. I think I got a double box one where it was like 40 cigars for like 200 or something crazy. It was wild. But yeah, I don't know what the Odin Works Baja is. Oh, if it's like that, the hell with it. That Strike Industries stuff or any of that anodized shit, Spike. Look, I get Spike makes some decent parts, but if you're one of the people with one of those cringe lowers, you need to, like, I don't know, turn that gun into a buyback or something. Oh, Odinworks does? Okay. I haven't heard anything about their cans. Um, but, like, there's so many good cans that are coming out. Like, what is it? Otter Creek has that new Infinity one, low back pressure. I definitely think low back pressure cans are going to be like the future. Everyone's going to have to do low back pressure. It's so much fun to shoot low back pressure cans on an AR than regular back pressure, because it's like I can take the can off and still shoot. Like, the gun's still going to run if you got a very low back pressure can. If you tune it for a standard can, when you take that off, it might not run the way that you want it to. I don't do chassis systems. Not a fan at all. It's if I pick up a gun, I want it dedicated. Like, I don't, a chassis system doesn't appeal to me. Like, I'd rather have like a dedicated platform. Yeah, there's a lot of people that buy that stuff right off the bat. Like, I see a lot of those high point carbines or those Kel-Tec carbines that everyone buys because they're like, it's the ultimate backpacking gun. And then you shoot it and you're like, this isn't that much fun. And you end up wanting to get rid of it pretty bad. Turn it to a meatball car. I've had experience with high points, and it wasn't the carbine. I've heard good things about the carbine, but the two high point handguns I shot were both 45 single stacks, and you couldn't get through a mag without them having some type of malfunction. Yeah. Yeah, the Smith and Wesson one I've heard is like the new Kel-Tec one is better than the Smith and Wesson one I've heard. PSA Jackals, like, I'm on board. I think they're all right. It just, really not my cup of tea. I'm a big fan of the DI stuff now, rather than like piston driven. I had a bunch of piston guns. I've moved away. I'm trying to think if I have any piston guns anymore. I don't think so. I think what was it Maxim? Maxim Defense. They make some pretty small form factor AR guns that like are really gas well too. So like a piston gun would be like a Scar, the HK ARs, LMT Mars. They have pistons. Jackal's a piston gun. PWS makes a long stroke piston. So yeah, it's like whichever gun runs on a short stroke or long stroke piston system. Yeah, Patriot Ordnance. Yeah. I'm not a huge Scar fan. I hate the Scar. I see so many of those things end up on arms lists. It kind of gives me a laugh. Yeah, the jack, like that's the problem with the piston. I think too, in general, is the front heavy. You start getting more and more weight out front, and it starts to be a problem. Like I couldn't imagine, like that Scar 20, what that weighs out front compared to like some of the other guns. The pistons are there so that gas doesn't get into the system, but it still hits the piston to reciprocate the bolt. Like, what is it? Jake, I don't know if you got a chance to try that VKTR, Victor Industries, whatever it is. But they make a new piston gun that's like it's self-regulating. So like it adjusts itself based on how much gas it needs. And it's designed by the guy that designed the LWRC one. And they made a lot of claims at GunCon that I don't think it lived up to, which soured me even more. Take care, Kyle. All right. I'm probably going to close it down now, too. We've been going a little over an hour. Yeah, it's a bleed off system, basically. Like, so it auto bleeds off enough once it hits the piston hard enough. That sort of thing. But if you use the piston in a bleed off system enough, usually you end up with a black hand out front. And because that bleed off, you're just putting the gas out right where your hand is instead of by where your face might be. So, yeah. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Talk to you at some point again. Take care.